So this year, I got my inspiration from WhatsApp. Okay, and I'll share how God led me to the topic that I'm sharing today. So I'm sure all of you are in many WhatsApp group chats, right? That you will see many birthday greetings when someone's birthday, and then you will see a lot of greetings. And I think you will see the three main types of greetings. Probably you'll see the same one as mine. The first type is the very short and to the point one. Just happy birthday, exclamation mark. Right? The first, I think the very common one is that you'll see that. The second type, you will see the happy birthday, exclamation mark, and then 95% of the message is all the emoticons. Right? The chicken drumstick, birthday cake, confetti, dancing lady, kissing face, whatever. Right? The whole message, 95% is emoticons. The third type is the one you will see the person will try to customize the message a little bit, right? To describe the person whose birthday and then give some greetings, some blessings. So in end July, early August, I have many friends with birthday around that time. And I belong to the third type. I try to customize the message a little bit. So I'll think of what to say, what blessing to share. And then after I write a few, right, I ran out of ideas. So I started analyzing people's greetings to try to get some inspiration. And then I realized, okay, I think the most common type of blessing that people give are the health, the forever young, the favor, blessing, etc. And then at that point, I asked God, and I asked myself actually, what actually is the greatest blessing in life? What is the greatest blessing I can wish upon someone? Or what is the greatest blessing I think I can receive? Right? And I thought about a bit, and then I put that question apart. And there was the same time I was supposed to prepare for this sharing, because I need a lot of time to prepare, right? So October, August, I already need to start preparing. So, but every day after work, I'm already very tired. So I told myself, okay, National Day, public holiday, I will use that day to prepare. So come National Day, that morning, I sit at my desk. I told God, okay, I really need to prepare. Please give me some direction on what to share. Because at that point, I still don't have the direction on what to share. And God brought to mind a lady I actually met 15 years ago. I met her in Kuala Lumpur, the General Hospital, when I was there with my daughter after our accident. And I thought, okay, I don't know why she was brought into my mind. I just text her. Right? I text her and thanking her again for the help that she gave me 15 years ago. And then we caught up over WhatsApp. So when chatting with her, I don't know why. Normally I'm not a stalker. I know my kids call me a stalker, but I'm not a stalker. When chatting, somehow I went into her WhatsApp profile page. You know, if you go to the person's name, you will see the profile page, and then you will see their status. Some people will say, well, I'm busy, don't call me, that kind, you know. So I went into her WhatsApp profile page, and then when I saw her status message, that struck me very, very deeply, because it was a direct answer to the question I was asking at that point in time. What is the greatest blessing in life? And this is what is shown on her status message. So her name is Anne. I saved in my content as Anne Nurse. So her status message in her WhatsApp is, the greatest blessing in this world is to be a blessing. So when I saw this, it struck me very deeply, because that was the exact question I've been asking that period, right? And when I saw this, I was okay. And when I thought about it myself, I really felt very touched by what she said. And I realized it all made sense now why she really, really helped me so much. Because this is what she lived by. That the greatest blessing to her is that she wants to be a blessing to others. Right? So that was how I got the idea of what to share today in being a blessing to others. Okay? So that morning, I remember at my desk, I told God, for all the blessing that I've received, I also want to be a blessing to others. How do I do it? Right? And there are many, many good things you do read on the internet, but I thought, okay, I want to understand what God says about being a blessing. Yeah, so I went to Google. about being a blessing. And actually, I found that the very common passage that is brought up is Genesis 12. And the context of that is when God asked Abraham to leave his country, to go into the land of Canaan, to take the land that God promised him and his descendants. And God told him that, leave whatever you're comfortable with, go, and I will make you into a great nation, and I will cause you to be a blessing. Right? And sometimes, to be a blessing, we may need to take a little bit of an uncomfortable step. Maybe we come out of our comfort zone to go and talk to someone. But that's exactly what Abraham, later became Abraham, did. He really didn't know what he is going into. It's a bit like God asking us, okay, leave Singapore and go to a country which you never hear before. You Google, you also don't even find a country inside Google, right? And you don't know what is it. All you know is, okay, when you go there, there's no mobile phone, no Wi-Fi, but you go, right? But that was what Abraham was like. He didn't know where he's going, but he obeyed and he went, right? So the Lord said to Abraham, go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you. Leave everything you have and go. And Genesis 12:2, then God says, I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. When we look at verse 2, you take out the key words, it's, I will bless you, and you will be a blessing. Right, that to me, again, also reinforces what the message that God was planting into my heart. It's very, very clear from this verse that God's blessings are not purely just for Abraham. God blessed Abraham so that he becomes a blessing to others. And it's very clear in this verse, the blessings come from God. Right? God is the one who will make him into a great nation. God is the one who is blessing him. So blessings come from God, and being blessed is what enables us to bless others. So when I was reading through this passage, the Lord is really telling us that we are to be people of blessing. We are to be a church of blessing. We receive a lot of blessings, but the purpose of the blessings is to bless those around us, especially those who do not know Jesus. So the big idea for today is really, we are blessed to be a blessing. True. And I was thinking, how do I be a blessing? It's very easy to say, let's be a blessing. So I'm trying to ask God, what practical ways can I be a blessing? And these are the three areas that I've put together, and I would like to share and hope we all learn together. Is we are blessed, we are blessing through our works, our words, and our wages. All right? Through our works. So the first one, works. So works is one I feel any one of us can do. And every one of us is able to do in our own way. So in Matthew 5:16 it says, in the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. And this is exactly what I felt, what Nurse Ann did to me. Right? That's exactly what she did. She used her blessings, i.e., her education in medical space, her ability to be in a hospital environment to see people in needs. She translated all those blessings into practical actions to help me. Because at that point, I was at my breaking point. Right? I was alone. It was a very happy holiday. That kind of feeling is very odd. It's like very happy, and suddenly, within an instant, it becomes like the worst nightmare in your life. So I was at my breaking point. I was alone. My husband went back for his operation. I don't know whether my child would survive. And she saw all those needs. And she doesn't even work there actually. She was there for a project, just to do some paper. So she only comes in the morning with the doctors, and then she's no longer there. But then every evening when she ends her work, she will come and look for me in the ward. And because everybody around there speak Malay, there's a little bit of English in there, but most people speak Malay, so I don't really understand much. She will take the effort and she will go and read the notes of the doctors, and she'll explain to me exactly what the doctor is saying. She will ask, how am I? Because in the hospital, of course, the patient is the most important one. At that time, there's no smartphone, right? There's no easy way for people to contact me. There's no easy way I can receive any Christian encouragement. The hospital was beside a mosque that broadcast prayers all the time. So my mind was very disturbed. And I think she saw all of those. And she really reached out to me, total stranger. She reached out to me. And she used her blessings of education, of her job, to just help me, right? And even 15 years later, whenever I think about her, I still feel very touched. I still continue to glorify God, exactly like what Matthew 5:16 says. What she did allows me to glorify the Father in heaven. So I feel this works is the one that all of us can do, because it's every small everyday action can make a big impact. In fact, it's often the smallest action that has the big impact. Probably to her, it wasn't a big thing. It was her after work coming to talk to me, but to me, it was a very, very big impact. And it's the same for all of us. If we can just take that small action, it will have a very big impact to others, right? And I think Jesus is the ultimate example of one who lived his life to be a blessing. He blessed others with his actions, whether it's healing the sick, whether it's feeding the 5,000, whether it's comforting the grieving. He saw the needs in others, right? When Jesus was doing his ministry, many people try to get close to him, try to listen to him, but who he saw first? He always saw those with needs first. He always reached out to those who feel outcast, who feel unwelcome, who feel hungry for food, for comfort, for encouragement. Jesus always, with his compassion, blessed them first. And sometimes when we are quite maybe a bit tired, we just want to rest or focus on ourselves, we remind ourselves that we learn from Jesus, we follow his example, that he is one who really lived to be a blessing. And I really pray that even as we go about our week, our days, our years, we be sensitive to the needs of others. We follow Jesus' example. We look out for those with needs, and we use what we have, what we've been blessed with. Even if we are blessed with time, we visit someone in hospital, we give someone a call to chit-chat. We are blessed with a skill, and then we bake a cake and give to someone who is down. So this is really something that no matter what we have, we can do in whatever small way. All right, so this is definitely one that I feel God was telling me, if you want to know how to bless others, then number one, use small practical works of actions. Okay. The second W, the words. So words, we all know, can build up or tear down. Very clear. We all know words are super powerful, right? We can choose to speak life. We can choose to speak encouragement, to point others to God. Words are so powerful because once it's spoken, it cannot be taken back. Cannot be taken back because the recipient can mentally replay that message over and over again. Right? So if it's a hurtful word, that hurt is going to happen over and over again whenever the recipient listens to it. But on the converse, if we speak words of life, then that words of healing is played repeatedly over and over again in that person. So I think I was really seeking God and understanding how do we really use words to bless others? Because using good words become the moment of God's grace in someone's life. When you speak something, God's grace transpires through the words into the person's life. And definitely the two areas that I felt was very, very important. Number one was prayer. So like in James 5:16, it says, the prayer of a righteous man is powerful and effective. So we never underestimate the power of prayer. And when we pray, we invite God's intervention into that somebody's life. Right? Using words of prayer, we invite God's invitation into that intervention into that somebody's life, and it shows that person that they are cared for. So praying for somebody is really one of the very, very practical ways to use words to bless someone. Right? Forgiveness is the other one. So forgiveness is not easy in the current context. In a world that holds grudges, I think forgiveness is definitely one difficult area. But forgiveness is one whereby we have been forgiven by God, and that's when we can bless others with forgiveness. So I learned this myself because in December, I did a YouTube video for the church on my testimony around how God has helped me. And in there, I spoke about my family's poverty, my father's chronic gambling, etc., etc. I did not tell my parents about the video because I wasn't, actually when I did the video, I was also a little bit, should I say this openly to some extent, right? So I didn't tell them, I didn't share anything with them. And then this year, April, my mother texted me and said, can I show your father the video? Then I was like, huh? Actually, I didn't tell them, how come she knows? So honestly, I was very shocked. I was very nervous, to be very honest. Because I don't know how my father would take it. All right, my father's character is, I better don't say too much. So when my mother texted me, I honestly didn't really know what to say. I think Brandon knew I received the message. So I didn't really know what to say. But ultimately, I decided to text my father. So I thank God my father is not educated, but he can read. Because I think when they're young, they watch, Chinese movie, and then they read the subtitles, read until he actually can read. He just cannot write, but he can read. So I texted him and said, 爸爸，你可以接受吗？你要看，可是你可以接受吗？因为我有讲到你赌博，我有讲到我们的家很穷，我有讲你叫我停学，你可以接受吗？ Right, so I asked him, can he accept this? Because I spoke about his gambling, etc. So he replied me and say, 我可以. He used audio. I thank God for WhatsApp audio message invention. Right, for those who are uneducated, this is really a super useful tool where he can just record what he wants to say. So he said, okay. And then I think he watched it. And yes, why my mother saw the video is because I forwarded her one sermon from the service to ask her to watch. And then after she finished watching, I think she scroll. And then she browsed. And then she saw my face. That's when she saw the video. So anyway, yes, so my father watched it. And I was very nervous actually. Because my father is that kind when he record his audio message, right? It's very loud kind. It's like, it sounds very harsh. You don't know how it is, but it sounds very harsh. So after he watched, and when I saw the message come in, the audio message, because it's audio, right, you cannot even read. I just see the play button. I was like, oh, okay. But then when I played the audio message, it so touched my heart because I could hear he's crying, right? And he said, 我想叫你原谅我，我要跟你道歉. For a man, a very proud man to say this, I know it's not easy, right? So I texted him back and said, 我从来没有怪过你，因为我知道你年轻的时候，你的生活也是不容易。可是现在你已经接受了耶稣，你已经改变了。我们都不是完美的。我年轻的时候，的困难让我更坚强。我们就是神为我们用了这些困难的时间来让我们成长。So I told him I've never blamed him. I've never held a grudge. I thank God that he's safe now. I thank God that even with the difficulties, it caused me to be stronger. So he texts back, and I could hear the relief and the release in his voice message. The tone is totally different. And I think he really needed to hear that word of forgiveness. I think he realized when he's young, there are things that we all do that we regret. And he truly regretted that. But he really just needed to hear that word of forgiveness that I've never had the chance to say. So to be honest, when I was asked to do the YouTube video, I was also a bit hesitant. I don't like to be in the middle. I don't like to be like that, right? Speaking alone, etc. But now I realize why the video actually was something that when I obeyed God, in the end, it opened up this opportunity for me and for my father to actually be able to articulate that forgiveness, because I think giving that forgiveness to him is actually one of the greatest blessings to a hurting person. I think articulating forgiveness to someone who is hurting is really one big blessing that we can give to others. So I truly learned that day. When I heard his last audio message, I truly learned that day forgiveness is something I can really use to bless others. All right, so Proverbs 16:24, gracious words are a honeycomb, sweet to the soul and healing to the bones. So I constantly now remind myself, every moment when I can use words to encourage or bless someone, I try to do so. And there are so many opportunities. at home if the kids are studying hard, put the results aside, regardless what the results is, I can give a word of encouragement, right? To recognize, to acknowledge their efforts. In office, with my staff, I know put in a lot of effort to do a work, I can give a word of affirmation. In church, I know there are many brothers and sisters who are working very hard. It's just a word of appreciation to them. So to me, yes, really using words is something that we can use to bless others. So that's words. Thirdly, is wages. And wages is one I wouldn't talk a lot about because I know it's a bit of a sensitive topic as well. When I was young and some guest speakers will come, and the few guest speakers who will come and always preach about giving. Sometimes I tend to shut off, right? Because I feel, I don't want to hear another message about giving. So I think it's a little bit sensitive sometimes. But to me, I really feel that giving through financial giving is definitely a way to bless others. We have talked about works, we talked about words, and those are definitely very, very impactful. It doesn't need to be financial giving. But if God has blessed us to have the financial ability to bless others by giving, then definitely blessing through financial giving back to the church or to the community is one way of being a blessing to others. And I only learned this along the way because as I grew up, I've received financial help before, whether it's actual help or an offer of help. Sometimes I didn't need to trigger the offer, but the very fact that someone reached out and say, if you need this, tell me, I'm there for you, is already a very great reminder that God is my provider. So because I have been a recipient of that, to me, I'm encouraged to also be able to bless others in financial giving. So like what Acts 20:35 says, in everything I did, I showed you that by this kind of hard work, we must help the weak, remembering the words that the Lord Jesus himself said, it is more blessed to give than to receive. So when we are blessed with the ability to give, that's really one area that we can help. I recently saw a TikTok video of someone talking about why he tithes, right? And it's actually it's very simple. It's just 9 simple points. But actually I just felt quite impacted because I keep watching. It's just 9 points. I keep re-watching the 9 points because I feel they are so true to me. And I thought I just share the 9 points with all of us. Okay, so he started his video, Why I Tithe. The video was titled, Why I Tithe. The first one, it provides for God's house. It tells God, I trust Him. It creates margin in my life for God to fill. It reminds me that I'm not my source. It connects my money to a kingdom purpose. I think this I felt really encouraged me because sometimes we give sometimes a bit out of obligation, sometimes, to be honest, right? Because to me, I grew up poor. Money, I'm very careful with. Sometimes I ever think before, I work so hard, why should I just give it away? But when I read this and I hear this, it connects my money to a kingdom purpose. It really gives purpose to me when I give. It gives my job eternal significance. And that also to me, sometimes we dread working, right? It's like day in, day out, work for what kind of scenario. But when I read this, I also thought it's really it spoke a lot to me. That when I work and I give to the Lord, it gives my job eternal significance. That is a meaning to why I'm working. There's a meaning to why I'm earning an income. And I don't forget that the ability that I can work is already a blessing from God. From the education, from being physically healthy, from being mentally healthy to work, all this really, I recognize, acknowledge is from God. And I want then my job, I want my income to have that eternal significance for God's kingdom. It transforms my money into a seed. No matter how small we give, the money becomes a seed. It breaks greed and self-reliance. It lets everything in my life know God is first. It's not easy. Sometimes tithing, where you set aside first the 10%, you know you have many things you want to buy, you have many commitments, but by doing so, the act of obedience lets everything in my life know God is first. I'm not saying all this because now I'm the church treasurer. but only after I become the church treasurer, I see how God uses the financial resources in the church to impact the community, to impact God's kingdom. And that's when I really, the concept of tithing sink in a lot more. Because I literally see how God uses financial resources to really impact the rest of the world. Right? So, yes, I'm not saying this because I'm a treasurer, but I truly now, after being the treasurer, after seeing these 9 points, I was really very impacted by these 9 points, that I believe that being able to use our wages to bless others is really a very wonderful form of blessing as well. Right? So when we give to God, one good thing is God never shortchange us. And when we give to God, it's not like an act of generosity. I'm generous, I give to God. Actually, God doesn't need our money. Right? It's an act of obedience. And I truly know that when I try to faithfully give, God looks after my finances. Right? God looks after my career. God looks after my finances, because I'm not one who is very financial diligent. Right? Although I work in the financial industry, I'm a bit risk averse, maybe from my background. I work hard for the money, but I don't really make my money work for me. I think that's the wrong thing. The youngsters I know now, they are very smart. They let their money work for them. I'm not. So, but I thank God, even as I try to give faithfully, the Lord has really watched over my finance, right? And even the place we currently stay. We were looking for a place 17 years ago, 19 years ago. And at that time, it's advertisement in newspaper. Right? So I was flipping newspaper, I saw the advertisement for my current place. So I called. And then the agent quoted one number that I knew I just put down because it's totally away out of my budget. So then we started looking for other properties, other places. And after half a year, things just didn't work out. And then I saw the advertisement again. I can tell it's roughly about the same description. So I thought, okay, maybe I just call. No harm calling you again, right? So I called. And then the agent now said, he told me the price has dropped 10%. But he said, okay, but it's negotiable. So we thought, okay, 10% was still way above, right? But then I prayed, me and Brandon prayed, and we continued talking to the agent. And to cut the long story short, in the end, we got a property for 40% lower than what he officially offered. Lower, it's not just because the person offered very high, it's 40% less than the surrounding properties as well, right? And was I the one who studied the property market? Was I the one who go and time everything? No, not at all. But God's timing was perfect. Right? We got the place at 40% lower than what they wanted. It's near my in-laws, it's near my kids' school, and now the value has really gone up, right? And it's none of my own knowledge, none of my own doing. But I believe God watches over our finances when we trust Him with our finances. So I truly want to then continue to entrust whatever finances I have to the Lord, and to ask Him to give us wisdom to use that to bless others, to use that for the extension of His kingdom, to impact other people. Right? So these three, works, words, and wages, to me was then the three things that, as I explore this topic more, when I prepared for this sharing, that God wanted me to learn more about. And the last part I will share will be, even when we bless others, I think one thing we can really remember is there is a ripple effect. Right? There's a ripple effect from the angle that I bless someone, the someone actually seeing the works may also be encouraged to bless others. And that's when God's love is extended beyond the person that you talk to or the person that you reached out to. And that's exactly what happened. So, nurse Anne blessed me. The nurses when we stayed 2 weeks in KL hospital, 6 weeks in KK hospital, so total 2 months. I was there 24/7. We never stepped out of the hospital at all. I saw the nurses and how they really look after the patients. And at that point, I remember I told myself, if ever I have a chance to actually come back and help children who are in the hospital, I will. So this year when I'm 50, I told myself, I want to do something different. So I signed up to be a volunteer back at KK Hospital. The initial part was a bit tough because there's blood tests, there's injections. So I took 5 injections, etc. My blood test failed, my blood coagulated, cannot use. My injection, I submitted, they come back and say, oh, I think your doctor gave you the wrong injection. I was like, huh? But thankfully in the end, the doctor wrote the wrong thing. They checked back the lot number is the correct injection. But anyway, after a whole saga, I managed to start. I've been doing it every week for 4 months now, and it's a very fulfilling experience. But this was seeded because of the nurses who actually blessed me. So whoever, even Nurse Ann or the nurses, when they bless me, they wouldn't know that actually I would go and do something, right? But because they seeded their blessing in my life, I feel encouraged to want to do the same. And I tell God, even as I do that, Lord, I want the ripple effect. It's like a stone thrown into a pond. It ripples out in waves. I may just see the next child I look after. So I look after babies up to toddlers of 3 years old who have no caregivers. Either the caregiver has gone home, looked after other kids, or they are abandoned, or they are taken away from abusive parents. So I feed them, play with them, change their diapers, soothe them. And I just ask God, even as I do that, sometimes I carry them to sleep, I just pray over them. I just sing, Jesus loves you, this I know to them. Because I just pray that through the ripple effect, whatever God's blessing to us moves to the next person and the next person, and God's love just gets shared across to many, many more. So all I really ask is, we know we are blessed in whatever small ways, and we are blessed to be a blessing. And we can bless others with our works, our wages. And when we bless others, that blessing is going to have that ripple effect. And sometimes it feels hard. We're very tired. We feel inadequate. We feel overwhelmed. But God reminds us that we're not doing that on our own strength. It's God who enables us to bless others. So I just really pray and encourage all of us that even as we, into this week, in future weeks, be sensitive to the needs of others, be very conscious and aware of the blessings that God has given to us, be very grateful for them, and use that to bless others so that God's love can be spread forth far, far into the world. So I would like to now sing a short song together with all of you, and let this be a time that you ask God yourself, Lord, what blessing do you want me to be? How do you want to use me as a blessing to others? And please use whatever little we have to be able to bless others.